Hey everyone, I'm Carolyn from Tranquil Mentor, and today we're going to be making a fake bake Ouija board black apple for Halloween. We had this old fake apple that we've been using for many fall seasons, and it's starting to need a makeover. I love Ouija boards and the little planchettes, so we decided to make an apple into a spooky Halloween faux treat. I'm going to be taking this stem off because we're not going to need it right now. And I do have my black Craft Smart paint. And what we're going to be doing is pouring that paint over the apple. So first, I have my little Dollar Tree sponge sander here. And I'm going to be going over just to rough up the surface just a little bit. Nothing crazy or anything like that. I just want to take the little shine off of it. But you can see as I roll through it here that it's seen its day. So I'm just going to wipe that off, get that little extra fuzz off there. And with the black paint, I'm just going to do a drizzle really, or a pouring. And this is not the medium that you usually use for pouring. I do believe that some Dollar Trees do have them, but also this is just some paint and I decided to try this out. So what we'll do is we saturated everything. I wanted it to drip down like caramel, but you can also dip it in a bowl too of the paint. Now here's my little sharp piece here. It's a little pointer, and I made these planchettes. I made a cookie cutter on my 3D printer. I designed it in Inkscape. And what I want to do is get the little paint. I painted it with khaki color paint. And what I wanted to do is get the paint out of the little crevices here. But this is white. Actually, it's blue clay, and it's the bake kind. So I figured the baked clay would be a little bit easier for me to stamp the image in with the cookie cutter. So I use that clay instead of the air dry. So we'll go through here and just get some of that caked up paint out of those little crevices, and then go around the star and all the different pieces. And I have some brown paint that is Dollar General's brand, and that's what I happen to have on hand here. So what I want to do is I want to make this look old, and that it's been ancient, laying around for thousands of years. And so we're going to take this brown paint, and I do have a little solo cup with water off to the side. And I've got my fan brush here, which I use quite a bit. I like the way that it makes the streaks in the width of the brush also, and the lightweightness of it. So with that wet paint, I'm going to go over and just get it. Now, you should use a paper towel for this, but for some reason I was using my fingers. So we'll get that aged up and get the paint all around, get some brown around the edges, and just make it look, grimy and old and dirty. But a paper towel does work good on the top here to be able to get that paint off if you didn't. Here we go. If you don't want to use your fingers, but I like the way that came out. That looks just aged enough. And then I'll do the second one, and I've got a black painter's marker and Craft Smart paint in royal blue and some white acrylology from Dollar Tree. That Craft Smart paint's from Michael's. And then I've got this flat brush here. So I made this eyeball out of air dry clay from Dollar Tree. And what I did was, I'm painting it white now just to get it to look a little bit whiter. And I took my dotter brush, that's Dotter, and I took the largest end and I pushed in around, making an iris. And then that pupil stands out, and and it's raised up. So what I'll do is just finish painting the white on here. And for the video, I didn't wait, for the white to dry. I'm going to take that, I can't really put it down, but I do have a foam piece waiting for it to put it in so it dries. So I'm taking my royal blue and that flat brush, and I'm just going around that indentation for the eye, for the iris. And I'll just get that all filled in, taking my time. And, you know, if I get any on the white part, I'll just touch it up later. But I am painting wet paint next to wet paint, and sometimes it does run a little bit, but it looks like it's doing pretty good so far here. And then I'll clean that up, like I said, later. And I'm going to take that black marker and paint marker, and it is gravity fed, so I've, you know, pushed down on it a few times. And then I'm just going to hold it steady as I can, and then go into that pupil area with my black paint. And I like these black paint pens. Some of them I like if they're a little bit finer, but this worked out perfect for this situation. All right, and then we've got that eye going. Now I went further and I did more detail with the eye off camera to just kind of make it look a little bit spookier and evil. And then I put this put the little white marks inside the iris, and I just wanted to go back over those again with my detail brush, because I used a daughter to do that, and the paint was wet and it was just not doing what I wanted. So I'm going back through here and just going over the little white lines that I made earlier. And then now it's dry. You know, I did let it dry overnight because I had other things that I could do. So I let that paint dry really well. You don't have to wait till overnight, but I'll finish that up. And then this is the way that it looks in detail here, and I'll show you up close. And then I'm going to stick it in my foam and let that dry. Now I've made these, I have these little no-hole bead, they're plastic from Temu, and they're just little round spheres. And what I'm doing is I had taken my daughter brush and I mixed up some iris paint for the iris, and I just used a daughter brush and I made that blue area for the iris. And now next I've taken a smaller daughter and I'm putting the pupil in on all of those, and that part will dry. And then I have this Treehouse Studio red paint pen. Those are from Hobby Lobby. I've had them for a very long time, and they're detailed. They're very fine detailed. And I wrote with pencil, I made these little veins in the eyes. I just didn't think it looked spooky enough and evil enough without the red. So I had, you know, written with the pencil, and then I'm going through now and I'm going over those lines. I never used to do things like this, but I find that if you're trying to paint on something that you don't want to keep going back over it, and you want to use your time wisely, I just found that it's better to take a pencil and put the lines where you want them in advance, and then that way you're not painting and repainting and going back over something that you really don't need to. But I like the way that came out. I think it looks nice and creepy and evil. All right, and now as far as the eyes, I'm going to take that red paint pen and I'm just really making a tiny little line down. I'm not even really making it squiggly or anything. And I'm going through all the eyeballs. I have much more eyeballs than this, but this is what I started out with, and then I made more later. But there's all the red marks on those, and I'm showing you the daughter that I'm using. And for this part, these are all dry, and you know, I have skipped ahead, the magic of YouTube, and I took the tiniest daughter that I could get, and I'm putting the little highlight in the eyes just to make it look like that it's staring at you. A little teeny weeny highlight there. So those were a lot of fun. And I've got my white, black, and royal blue paints. And on the planchettes, I just thought they needed a little bit more color. So I wanted to paint the eyes in and make the eyes look like they were really staring out at you. And so I'm taking some white and royal blue and mixing those together and trying to get a light blue, because the royal blue is just a little too dark. So I've got my color ready, and I'm just going to go in here And I've got my detail brush, and I'm just going to paint into that iris. And my detail brush is from Michael's too. I wait till they're on a major sale and I buy the brushes. I usually wait till they're either 50% off, or I have my 30% off coupons. I never want to pay full price. And then I'm just taking plain white and going around the outside of the eye here and the whites of the eye. And then I think it's starting to look really creepy. And it just looks like it's staring at you. And then there's one more part here. We've got to take our black and do the pupil. And this is a Acrylology red oxide that I found, just happened to find one day at Dollar Tree. It's not a typical thing that I usually see. So I'm taking a wet fan brush here, and I'm going to go over this board just to make it look old and worn and creepy. So there's paint in there. I have actually a different fan brush right now, but that's what I typically use, that stuff for washes. So I'm kind of doing this red oxide type wash. And here I am using my finger again, but we could use paper towels. They work a lot better. And I'm just running that red oxide wash over the top and on the edges. And this just will give the board just such a complete look. It won't just look like a piece of wood. All right, and then I had some trouble with this. This is falling off. I just had nano tape, and what I'm going to do when that dries is I'll just put some glue, that super glue that I have from Dollar Tree will work really good. And a paper towel to rub this paint off will work really good. And the little planchette, I'm just going to wait for both of these to dry really well, and then I'll put that planchette, I'll glue it back on. But here's what they look like all done, and I think that red oxide really did a good job here. And I'm going to take some brown, that brown from Dollar General, and it's just brown, and I'm going to go in on the edges here just with my fan brush and kind of give it a little bit more of a dusty, worn look here, and distress it a little bit more with this brown. It gives it a little bit of dimension too when you come in and you finish off with the brown. All right, and that's the way that it came out. I really like that. And then I'll just lightly dust my tiny little planchette here. All right, and of course it's not going to stick, so we'll just wait that out. We'll let it dry really good, and then I'll be able to glue it together. But I mean, my laser cut that, and it is teeny weeny. I'm so excited the way that it came out. And I have the apple that we're going to use. The black apple is dry now. It took a while, but it is all set. And that there's a cone on there that's half of a styrofoam ball that I get them from Dollar Tree. And I just hot glued that styrofoam ball on, and that cup that I have, I'm going to be putting my spackle in. And this, I use DAP Fast and Final lightweight spackling. And there is some spackle left in there from another project that I did, and I've got this food coloring. I'm gonna have to link it. I can't remember if I got it from AliExpress or from Temu, not sure. And then I just have a regular Rubbermaid bowl that I got from Dollar Tree as well. I got so much stuff from there. And then I'm taking out the spackle, and I want my spackle to be a very royal purple. And this is the first time I'm using the food coloring, so I'm not quite sure what kind of consistency that we're going to get. But I'll put a little bit of spackle in there, and we'll just give it a shot. I'm going to use, these are all the colors that came in the box. They're just beautiful. I'm going to take out the color Incense Purple. All right. And then what we'll do is we'll put a few drops in here and mix it up and just see what that does, what we're going to need. I don't really know what the concentration of it is yet, so we'll mix it around really, really good. And I have a plastic knife laying around, and all of my tools that I have, I put them in the same spot all the time, the bowl and the bag and everything. And this way I know that those are just used for my spackle and my fake bakes. So I'm going to throw a bunch more in there. I'm looking for a deeper purple. And I just want it to look more royal purple. Oh, I think that does it. Yeah, I like that color a lot. That's really pretty. And we still have our peaks. So here I've got that, not jar, but cup that I always use. And I'm pushing the nozzle of the bag down. That's a Wilton bag from Walmart. And I use this one a lot. It has the star tip on the end, and that just works out really good. And what I'm working on here is I usually have to knead the bag quite a bit. So what I'm trying to do is get more of the end of the bag over the cup. And this way I'll have that spackle deeper down, and I won't have to push it through and, get it down to the end. This is just going to be less effort and less time. It'll get that in there. So I do have a little bit of white on that spoon, but I'll just mix it up as I go along here. But I like to get every bit of it as I can. I scrape it off the spoon. I scrape the rest out of the little, I want to call it Tupperware. It's a Rubbermaid bowl, my plastic bowl. And I just make sure I get every little bit. I don't want to waste any because it's precious. So we have to use it all. And if I ever have any left over when I'm doing a fake bake, I usually make, something miniature for my tier tray, like a little Starbucks faux treat or something like that. And then I decorate it for whatever holiday. But always, anything with color in it that's left over, I always try to use that right away, because the white I could push back in. And with something with color, I really need to use it. All right, so we'll put that off to the side, and that will just get wiped out later with a paper towel because we don't want to put it down the drain. And then we'll take our bag with the big edge here, and I'll just pull that up. And then here we go, where it looks like we've got that quite a bit closer to the end. So that is a much better strategy. I like that. And then I'm squeezing my bag. And this way, if it's up closer towards the end of the bag, then I don't have to knead it as much. So here I'm just kind of kneading it down a little bit further so that it's very close. And then that way I don't have to work as hard at getting it into the end. And then I'm just pushing the rest of that spackle in. But these Wilton bags are good for me because they're pretty heavy duty. And I think as I do these more, I will be able to use some more of the lighter weight ends and bags. But for now, I keep wiping this guy out and using it over and over. And I've got 2 more actually. So I'm going to do a test run here and just see what we have, what kind of texture we have. Do a little test run, and that looks good. So we'll start doing our apple here and doing our faux whipped topping. And I just love that color. And just to get a little bit more detail in here, I'm gonna push into the spackle a little bit and just kind of try to get a little bit of a different decor in there instead of just straight lines. I think it gives some interest to it and some dimension. And then we'll just slowly spin it as we're going. And with this apple, it's just the shape of it is easier to hold on to. And sometimes the cupcakes are so small, so I try to put a cardboard under them. But here I was able just to hold on to it and wrap it around. And if your bag starts making a little bit more air out of it, or if it just doesn't feel right, just put a little, come down a little bit more with, further down towards the nozzle with pressure, and just push. And then here we're going to do our little dollop at the top here. And then just push in and pull off. There we go. All right. Oh, I just really love the color. That food coloring really worked out good. And I've heard there's a lot of other things that you can do too. I see people use acrylic paint, and I see people use the alcohol ink, I believe. I haven't actually tried that myself, but I really do like the food coloring. I think that's good because I've got so many different options of color. And I 3D printed this creepy hand, and I'm going to put that in. I hot glued a skewer stick on the end of it, and then I'm putting everything into the styrofoam. That's why I like using that styrofoam ball, because I know kind of where it is. Now with this eyeball, we finally have our eyeball out. I tried to put it on that skewer, and I really didn't like the way that it looked. It was too far away. I really want it in the hand so that the hand looks like it's holding the eyeball. So for now, instead of waiting for the hot glue gun, we'll take some nano tape, and there we go. And then later on, I'll just hot glue it. But I like the way that looks. It looks really creepy. And we'll take our planchette. It's all dried with our evil eye, and we'll put that in. And I wanted that to look a lot like it was baked. But now our sign, our Ouija board, I really couldn't find a cookie cutter and couldn't get the detail. So what I did was I made that on my laser, and then that's how it looks now in the back. I didn't like the way it looked on the back, so I took ribbon and like velvet ribbon, and I glued that on the back so that it looks like a board. And then here we have our eyeballs, and let's just get some tweezers out here. And these are, I got a set of tweezers for, there's another part to these for probably 89 cents from Temu, and that didn't focus too well. But anyway, I'm just showing you that I'm putting the eyeballs in with these tweezers, and I've got them upside down, but they're very fine and very easy to work with, and they do the job. Now these are from Temu. I believe that they're no-hole beads or spheres, or they're plastic. They got a good weight to them, and they've got such beautiful colors. So I decided to take the purple out, giving this a little bit more interest, giving my whip topping some more interest. And I'm looking for all of the purples so that I can place them just where I want. All right, and I've got those in, and there's the eyeballs with the purple. I'm just loving the way that this is coming out. It's just so evil looking. And then I've got some pearls. I figured I'd maybe soften it up a little bit, make a little bit more dimension. And I got my tweezers again, and I'm just going to go around and put the pearls on. All right, and we'll take those little spheres out again. And I decided that I needed some kind of color in here. So I'm doing this sort of spooky, slimy green color, and just placing them where I think that they'll look good, and just trying to break up that purple a little bit. And then to break up the purple a little bit more, I've got these sprinkles that I made. They're made with baked clay. And I'll link to a video to how to make those. And because I learned how to make them on YouTube, Cassie Smallwood, I'll link to her video because she does a really good video on how to make them. And then I strategically like to place some of my sprinkles because they don't always fall where you want, and they don't always stay. So those tweezers are definitely paying for themselves, because there's a whole nother, there's a straight one, and I mean it was probably 80 something cents, so you can't go wrong with that. And this is really great to be able to use these tools, and I'm just loving Temu for that, because I feel like if I shop smart, it really helps out. And I've been able to get so many things that I wouldn't normally be able to get. And right now I'm just strategically, or not strategically, I'm just kind of throwing them on or placing them on like you would normal sprinkles. But I'm going to push them in a little bit and just try to get it to look that way. And then I'll go back through and place some more of them on. And then I have that sheet underneath so that I could put my sprinkles back without a problem. But I'll pretty much take my time and go through and just put these wherever I want them. And that's a therapeutic time for me too, is to be able to place them. I love doing that. And that way I get them just where I want. And then that sheet of parchment paper that's under there, I just take it, fold it, and then I put the sprinkles back in. All right, and we'll just finish up placing those there. And then what you have to do, you can let them fall where they fall, but also just to get them in, because at this point what's starting to happen is the spackle is starting to dry. So because I was strategically placing my sprinkles on the other side, now that I'm on the back here, I've got a little bit of where the spackle is starting to dry. And here you have it, the Fake Bake Ouija Blackboard Apple for Halloween. I just love the way that this turned out. Look at the eyeballs and the Ouija board and the planchette and the apple. Absolutely, I love it. If you make one of these, please tag us on Instagram at Tranquil Mentor. And if you would be so kind to like and subscribe to our channel, it gets YouTube to notice us just a little bit more, and we can make more videos like this one. And as always, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.